Buddy the dog. What are you doing, pal? You happy to? Yeah, he's happy today. Sure. Well, we got one more thing we need to do. Oh, he's playing with something. I don't know what he's found, but sure. If that makes him happy, awesome. We got one more trip to make over to the combine place, as we need to get the corn head. Luckily, my trailer is hooked up. Last night, I ran into town. Dad bought him a new mower. So I figured we'll just leave the trailer hooked up and go do this. So we're gonna get started here in a second, as soon as I get there. Also, we're going to take this piece of rod with us and hopefully get a new one cut for our pedal tractor project so we can finish that up. And we're gonna get started right after this. All right, welcome back. If you haven't seen my videos before, I'm Rusty Oliver, man. Last night, like I said, I ran into town. Then it started to get bad and lightning and carry on and everything else. And I thought, I better put out a bale of hay. And I did that and proceeded to get stuck. And I didn't film it this year. It's been a yearly occurrence, but this year it was that tractor. It got down in there and it got to where it wouldn't quite pull itself out. So it wasn't stuck very deep. And I managed to get the other loader tractor and hook onto it and just yank on it a second and pull it out of there. But in the daylight, everything still looks square and where it should be. So I guess no harm, no foul there. But yeah, they're gonna waste a lot of that bale because I didn't get it to the place it should be. But oh, Buddy the dog, he's gonna do something. That's fine. We're gonna get over there. Hopefully they're still there because it's getting close to 5 o'clock and they'll probably go home soon. But we'll get all our stuff accomplished here. So yeah. Super cheap, super duty. With a fresh oil change that really is up to the correct level, as we went back and checked the correct dipstick. So, sure. That still makes me laugh because I knew that wasn't the right dipstick. I've checked the oil in it many times. And somehow, filming that video, when the camera goes on, your brain shuts off, I have found. And you end up saying a lot of things or doing things that are not right. And a lot of times when you edit, you'll catch those things and think, why did I say or do this or that? But that one I missed. I sure enough missed the whole thing until you, the viewers, pointed that out. We need to unload this and put all our tools away because it is a one-person vehicle again. It is full of everything I thought we'd need to revival a combine, you know? And there I was talking and not paying attention, and I about backed it into a tree. So that's awesome, amazing. This is not going my way here, this backing up plan here. We're doing everything but the correct thing. Let's see if we can make it. Buddy the dog is taking off. He likes to race. Every time we leave the driveway, he takes off. Full speed. Go, Buddy the dog, go. He might give up if he sees that I'm in high gear here. Nope, he's gonna keep right along. Gotta watch him though, because he makes stupid mistakes. Like he'll cross over in front of me here in a second if I'm far enough ahead. See, I don't, there he is. Okay, gotta keep watching where he's at. Sure. We got that stuff loaded and I don't know if I'm gonna make it home or not. This is a sketchy load. We're gonna go slow. mean, if the corn head falls, hopefully it stopped before it slides all the way off. The jacks of the corn head are resting on the bracket that holds the ramps for the trailer, so I don't know. I can also feel that the trailer is very light on the truck because of all the weight on the back, naturally. So we're gonna just hope for the best. We're gonna just hope for the best. Plus all of those burn barrels that I thought we had to have. Dad wanted a few, and then they had some, and I said, sure, I'll just take them all. Can't pass up a good deal, you know. I think I'm gonna take the long way again. I call it the long way because you're essentially backtracking twice, but if I'd go the same way I went with that combine, if something falls off, there's likely to be less traffic than there would be on the other way. However, the other school of thought would be that come on, truck, there we go. I was gonna say, it's not shifting. The other school of thought would be the less turns you make would probably be better, but I don't know. It's kind of miserable outside. It looks nice and warm and sunny, but the wind is cold, so I'm hoping not to have to, you know, run home and get a loader tractor and pick up pieces off the side of the road, is what I'm hoping. Ain't that a pretty sight? Well, we're getting closer. Home stretch. So it's still there, but there's a lot of there's a lot of distance for something to happen. We'll see. If we get in the driveway, I'll be happy. That's when it'll fall off, now that I said that, but probably stop and get the mail too whilst I'm at it. Oh, we made it to the driveway. I'm gonna get my mail. I probably won't show you that because you don't need to see my address, but this is quite the interesting load, I would say, out of different things I've hauled in my lifetime. That is, yeah, probably not too safe. Buddy the dog, back again. You know, you're not even fazed by it anymore, are you? That's great. It made it home. Now we just got to unload it, and that's gonna be super sketchy because it's probably gonna tear something up. Getting that off of there because of that feeder house. The skid loader, the forks were all the way under, and this was like right in the cab, so it was kind of questionable there. But and I see it's missing a pin. I wonder if that fell out on the way home or if it was already missing. I'll never know. Oh well, it's as tight as that. Oh, there we go. I was gonna say the other one was that tight it didn't fall out on the way home. On top of this was laying this, which appears to be a variable speed traction belt. And then of course I've got all these burn barrels. Dad said, get me some burn barrels, and there are some burn barrels. Some of them, that's about all they're good for now. Need to give it a couple whacks here. Water froze and busted those, so sure, but I think that will do the trick. So now what I want to do, I mean, we can kind of survey this machine. It's kind of hard with this laying here. It doesn't look too bad, this corn head. It's obviously, it's had some patchwork done. What I'm really most interested in would be that center snout. Ooh, okay, barrels, calm down. It looks pretty good. I could probably put it right on the other combine and go. And it would be nice to maybe make a pattern. What I'm saying is, take it totally apart. Unbolt all the iron, the heavy irons and the brackets. Flatten that steel out, and then have pieces cut like it, and then bend it back and go again so that I could have an extra snout. You smell something interesting there, pal? No? So that would be something that needs to happen, because like I said, I don't know if I'll ever use this corn head, but my other one, this is the same stuff underneath. This is a 522, and the other one's a 544, I think is the number. So at any rate, they're different than the later ones. Everything's different. The way that, the whole way it's made, everything. These are mostly open, like open gears, you see, no gearboxes. And yeah, it's got one bad sin here that I noticed right away, and that's that somewhere along the line of moving it probably over the years, it got pretty well toasted. So it'd be real handy to try to find one of them if they would exist, rather than try to straighten that one, although it could be done. All it has to do is hold the belt. No more than we would play with it. Feeder house turns good. Obviously, I'm trying to decide, yeah, the chain's off. The chain would go to here, and then that would drive your units, and then the belt is, the combine runs here to a belt, and then from here it's driven with a chain. But let's take a look at Buddy the dog, who's satisfying some need within himself. You keep doing that on camera. Yeah, that's, yeah, people want to see that, sure. But what I want to do is a more thorough walk around of this combine so I can order some parts. I kind of looked a little bit when we brought it home, and of course now that I want to do this, it's going to get super windy outside, because why not? But what I was saying is, I did a walk around, you know, we kind of figured out we needed 2 belts, and I think I can get those no problem. They're probably not cheap. I know that thresher belt's not cheap from Agco. But then there's other things on it I want to check. You know, like potentially, I guess we'll just roll with this belt like this when we see a belt until it totally snaps, or do we want to replace it? You know, maybe just take a mental note. Like this belt could probably be replaced. It's not very good. This belt is really good as far as old belts go. I wouldn't worry about that. This hose needs replaced, and I think I have a line on one of those. You know, it's got a kind of funny fitting on it there, see? So that's the kind of thing we want to take note of. Try to figure out how much stuff we want to change on it before we'd ever take it out. That's interesting. That's obviously been broken off, or maybe somebody moved it or added to it. And the only reason I say that is because the other side is the same way, welded on. Now, why would you wouldn't just break one, you wouldn't break 2 at the same time, I don't think. So something, I don't know, that's interesting to see that that was done. Taking inventory here of everything. This belt looks good. It's loose, but it looks good. Head hose, not the greatest, but it was working. But that might be something we take that off and go to the hose shop and have that made. Put a JIC adapter in the cylinder, and then just make a JIC hose to go to both. This belt was junk from the start. The thresher belt broke and got wedged in there or something, because I couldn't turn that aluminum beater shaft at all, and that ain't cool, because there's obviously a problem then. We need to try to I gotta think on this. I never grew up with one that had the side shields on it here, so this is foreign to me. I would assume that a guy would do that, or not. I bet you're supposed to be able to do that, and it just doesn't anymore. Right? Why won't that hinge open? Huh. That's odd. Because it looks like it's... Okay. We're gonna cheat. Maybe. We want to get this open so we can survey what's happening. MacGyver! Not using the correct tools. Well, something ain't right here. And it's no wonder that whoever owned the one we had before chucked the shields, because this is not handy at all. I'm pretty sure that's supposed to telescope, but for some reason it don't do that thing anymore. So we're gonna have to investigate. But let's crawl under here. I guess we'll let it fold down on top of us, and the battery's about dead, so then we're gonna have to crawl. That belt looks decent-ish. This one's good enough to run. Long traction drive belt, good. Short traction drive belt, not bad, but there was a new one laying on the head, so who knows what. But what happened here? It's wedged between the shield and itself, and that made it essentially a big break, and that's why it's interesting, this one versus the other one, because I don't have any I don't know what I'm trying to say. I don't think I'm going to get this to turn and unwedge this belt. What I'm going to have to do is take the belt guard off. We did that on that other combine to change this belt. But I'm going to have to do that to get the, like right here. Here is where it's locked. I think it's doubled over on itself and it's wedged between the metal and the pulley, and it's locked up solid. So if I get that off, everything should spin again. We'll have to take that cast plate off up there, which is super duper fun, but we'll do that. Get the new belt put on, and then this part of the machine should run. But it's okay, because we would have had to take that belt off to change the belt behind it anyway. That is obviously not, you know, doing its thing anymore. So we'll get those two belts there. And I'm just looking it over, because I haven't even looked it over that close. I knew I was going to save it, and that's as far as I got. So I kind of want to see that belt back there. Looks good. Just kind of take an inventory on anything that I think might need attention. My other ones have like a mud kit or whatever, and all that stuff is shielded in. So I don't know if they just didn't have that on this, or if that was part of the corn only package, because they had like a corn package you could buy. There were things you could put on the walkers, so maybe that had something to do with that. Maybe that was a later revision, I don't know. This was all turning when it went, so it needs tightened up. I think somebody, when they stored it, just went around and loosened everything. So we're gonna have to give it a good once over on that regard. Steering hoses, dry cracked, but they don't look bad. They're not leaking visibly at all, but I'm sure this was washed up before it was put away. This is a horrendous mess, but I might have found one of those too. So if I can get that, you know, this breaks my brain. Can I bend that back now? I'm gonna need some type of tool to do that. That's obviously been smushed way too much, but I think this piece here has taken the brunt of it. I think the rest of it can be easily whatever. And somebody brought me those the other day. Somebody brought me a set of these pieces. They were leaning against the fence in my yard. So I don't know who you were, viewer, but thank you, because we might actually need them. You know, that one's pretty roughed up. We can pick the best ones of what we got and make her go. I think back in here everything looked good. I mean, even the ends of the straw walkers look excellent, but that's because this never had a chopper on it. A lot of the ones that had a chopper, the ends of these are mangled from where stuff got flung against them. But we had this all running yesterday, so it's looking good there. You know, we'll have to redo our tail light wiring if we want to go that far. Our fuel system, how's it doing? It looks just clean as can be, so I don't think that the tank is very bad at all. This belt, I think it'll run a while. Well, it's got a couple places that might not be the best. I need to go over to Cousins and look through those belts. I gave him all those belts, and I bet you there's some in there that are what I need, you know, because they got the 931 numbers. This belt is no good. It's not even worth fooling with, but that's just a B series belt that can be easily had. This belt, I think it would run again. That's not a very good place. Maybe it would be worth changing. This combine, it's going to be easier to change those belts than the other ones, because the other ones, this comes all the way out to here because they have the chopper drive on them, and that bolts on here somehow or what another, and it makes it difficult. This belt should probably be changed. That runs your return grain. It's not great, but it would work. But you know what I'm saying. How much do we want to spend right away? There's a problem we're going to potentially have to deal with right away all along there. This is surprisingly solid still. That's a common failure point on every one I've had. I've put in a door, clean out door, so you could solve that. We'll probably get there at some point. You're about to die, you only 1%. This oil hose, that ain't gonna work. It's been rubbing against that belt. It needs to be tied up, like up here or something, very securely, so it's not rubbing a hole in it. And we need to check, because if it's gone too long already, we should probably just do something different. But that's what needs to happen. It needs to be tied up here when not in use. What else? Hydraulic return hose looks okay. Hydraulic pressure hose looks okay. They put it inside of a radiator hose, so they've obviously had that off at some point. This we're gonna have to give attention. I think this bracket is destroyed. I'm sure I could probably fix it, but I think I found another one, so I'll go that route if I can. It shifts excellently, so I think the shift cables are good. Everything just, it's good, but it's time for attention is where it's at. This hose, well, as predicted, you ran out of battery, but that's okay. I got more batteries. We have, this hose here is leaking. Only when you operate, I think, that third lever, and that has to do with this automatic lifting system thing, which very probably doesn't work anymore. I don't know, maybe it does. Here's the thing that would need hooked up to it. It would go in there. I'm guessing that somebody put this, I wonder if it was in the shed over there with no head on it, and they put the corn head on the trailer, put this one on the machine to drive it home, because not everything's hooked up. But we could potentially hook this back up, and maybe that thing would still work. I don't know. I don't know anything about it. I just know our gleaner had something like that built into it from the factory, and had those rigid fingers under there, and then when it bottomed out too much, it would make the head go up. So we would be banking on the fact that all those cables would be free still, in order for that to work. But part of what makes me wonder if they hooked this up in a hurry was for this isn't even hooked up, the reel lift. And this hose is a piece of garbage. It really needs changed. Sure, now the phone's gonna ring. All right, that hose isn't very good. It's also not hooked up, and it will have to be when we do this because we want to be able to lift the reel. So that will need attention. And this one I'm going to replace just so it doesn't leak all over. That is going to be no fun. And you know how I know that? Because it goes up in there to the main valve thing, and you have no room to work in there. I've changed hoses in there, and it ain't no fun. Let's give a quick perusal down here. I'm betting we're going to have to replace some of these at some point. I had to on that other one. You know, there's hoses around. Some of them ain't great, and they're probably going to take attention. But how far do we go right away? This is a toy. I would more rather just do a few things and then worry about it later. I wonder if that's my missing pin. No. From that corn head, because that's super long, you know. The factory pin is not that long. Ooh, it's got the feeder house stand clipped underneath it. Wonder how long that would work before it accidentally came loose and then plowed in the dirt. Flipped over. I'm just looking at what we got here. Our cylinder pins just don't look quite right, but they're working, so perhaps we'll just pretend we didn't see that, you know. I don't know about the clearance here. That doesn't look quite right, but the block is against there, so either something is very wore or something else is wrong. I'm gonna have to investigate that too on the other one. For some reason I was thinking that this was a cast piece that really belonged in there. Maybe they lost it, or maybe that was a revision of it. I don't know. We'll find out. That one's got a cast piece. I can see it from here. Those two hoses ain't no good, but I think I know where there's some of those. Yeah, basically belts and hoses I think are going to be our big issue with this. And when we do that and get that lined out, I don't see any reason why it wouldn't cut some wheat. You know, it looks in great shape, you know, as far as these old combines go. And I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be fun to play with this and that pull type combine, Minneapolis Moline, and you know, I doubt I'll get more combines ready by then, but who knows? I'd really like to get a deer put together at some time. People have been asking about that, but it is so far gone, it's going to take a lot of welding and cutting and work. And I want to do it because it's one that Grandpa had, but it's going to take time. It's not a priority. And projects around here go by how fast do I need it, moves it up on the priority list, or how cheap will it be to fix it. If it's something simple, then it gets moved to the top. So if I drag in a tractor that is almost running, it usually gets moved to the top ahead of other stuff because it won't take much to get it going, and it'll keep longer around here if it's moving. So sure, but I like everything I'm seeing here. I like that they put an elbow on that exhaust. I had to do that on that one because yeah, that's no good to have them uncovered. So I think we're in a good shape. I needed to go around it and physically put my hand on some stuff and look it over real close to see what kinds of things I can be looking for, or if I, you know, get a minute to go to town and grab something, I can potentially do that. Somebody has got a very interesting chain here. Almost every link comes apart. So, and some of them are missing the cotter key, so that's going to need attention. But what I'm getting at is when we change it to the wheat sprocket, we're going to have to take a section of this chain out anyway. So maybe we need to just take the section out that's the sections that are missing pins. Something I don't like. I don't know if I like that chain or not. Maybe I need to just order a new double roller chain and swap it out for wheat. That's too many failure points. You know, it's missing a pin there. This one's crappy and it's wore. There's another ones that are about to come out. There's some missing here and there. I don't like that. I think I would rather get me a nicer piece of chain and go, even though they always say, oh, put a new chain on the sprockets and it'll start wearing out the sprockets, but I think it'll run a long time for me. You know what I'm saying? A lot better than this would if it chucks off in the middle of the field. That hub is loose on that shaft. That's not good, but we can potentially do something about that. This ain't my first rodeo with a 500 series combine, so we can make that go. Usually these are loose back here, and it is. And they're usually pretty hard to get to with all the crap that's crammed on them, so they never usually get any love, but I don't know. I think we're good. Like I said, I'll start gathering parts here in the background, and you'll see this again when we get ready to take it to the field, because it's not going to take much to take it to the field. It's going to be, you know, just some belts and hoses, and I think it'll go. And then we'll play with it a little bit, see how it does. We really need to do, and I didn't do, I need to look at the grain pan. That's what's wrong with that one. It really needs the grain pan pulled out of it and really welded up nice. And I mean, this one might be horrendous and not hold wheat. It actually looks pretty good. It's up in the front where they usually crap out. The back, not so much. I can't tell if that's a hole back there or not. We'll have to try to get in there closer, but this one might go like it is with very minimal issue. That one's got a whole chunk out of the corner, and we welded a piece up in there to play with it the last time the best we could, and I don't think it's perfect. It could be a lot better, so that's why I didn't really get in a mad rush about using that one. But we are going to get it fired up again and drive it around to keep it going, because we worked too hard to save it, you know, and that's not fair for me to just leave her sit out and go to crap. But yeah, see, there's my patch, and I think there's a hole started next to it already because it was just so rotten. There's the cast block. We'll have to look and see if the small one had that same thing, but at any rate, I'm going to call this video here. It wasn't very interesting, but it was the last trip to get stuff for that. So I'll get that unloaded somehow and put it out of sight, out of mind, and we'll live our happy lives. And then we need to start working on some of these other projects that we need to use. I've got all the stuff to work on the orange tractor. I've got stuff to work on that. I need to order parts for that. I need to work on that. Just everything, you know. I've been trying to gather parts and get it ready, but it just takes a while sometimes, and our weather doesn't cooperate. This is miserable right now out here. I can't hardly stand it with that wind blowing. So at any rate, let's just call the video here. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. After watching what you just saw, do you feel like your IQ has dropped lower than your credit score? Well, there's no reason that both of us should be miserable, so go ahead and hit that thumbs up and leave a comment. That stuff costs you nothing, and it really helps me out. Your banker may not approve, but I know mine will. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.